Don't do it. Don't sell Garnacho. Don't think about it. Alejandro Garnacho is wanted by Chelsea among other clubs. Meanwhile, Kobe Maino too is on their radar. People are up in arms. What exactly is going on at Manchester United? How did we get here? My name is Webb. Welcome to the United Hot Sport, and here I am to give you a proper explanation to what the exact problem at Manchester United is and why the club has got to sacrifice players. Who caused this? One name: Glazers. Guys, the past administration under the Glazers put Man United in a very difficult position. They were getting loans and using players as collateral. They went on to sign players on long contracts when they're earning so much money. The players don't want to leave, so the club is spending a lot of money while they are not selling as many players. Meanwhile, they get collections and all these other football sources in terms of cash are not really bringing in that much. So what happens is Man United finds themselves in a very difficult situation when it comes to the profitability and sustainability rules, because they were spending so much money on players, yet they were not selling enough. Here is a proper example of how bad business was being done by Man United, and that's why INEOS came in and first fired Richard Arnold and his team. He fired the former CEO of Man United because this is the job of the CEO: do good business, make good negotiations. The people who are negotiating were fired. All these incompetent people were all fired because this is where they landed Man United. Can you imagine, in the last 10 years, those are the top clubs that made the most money out of sale of players. Man United ranks number 31. This is across Europe, the major leagues in Europe. Man United ranks number 31. And can you see how much money they made? In the past 10 years in transfers, Man United made 541 million euros in sales of players. In the same period, Chelsea made 1.4 billion euros, Benfica made 1.3 billion euros, Juventus made 1.2 billion euros, Monaco made the same amount, Dortmund made 1.1 billion euros, Barcelona made 1 billion euros, Atletico Madrid made 1 billion euros, Ajax made 993 million euros, Man City made 905 million euros, AS Roma made 860 million euros. In 10th, those are the top 10. Man United is in the number 31st position, made 541 million euros. Now, in 10 years, guys, meaning if we are to average it each year, or in each year, Man United would make about 54 million euros per year. That's the money Man United would make from sales of players, meaning all the other money they had to make was from gate collections and all the things. Now, it's impossible for you to balance your books like that. Remember, it's impossible. Remember, they were selling these players like Scott McTominay. Talk of players like Fred. They sold players like Lukaku. You can name them. They were selling these players for peanuts because none of them would command a decent fee. Yet they were spending 85 million on Antony. Is it 60 million on Sancho? They were spending 65 million on Mason Mount in the same period. And we can go back and back and back and back to how this money was spent. Now, this is the bad situation that has landed Manchester United in a place where, before they can head into the market and make signings, they need to first sell players and make some decent amount of money so that their books can grow to the positive. Because currently Man United is running a deficit, I should say, when it comes to how much money they have available to make signings, to sign players. And remember, the markets are inflated. Players are very expensive lately. And when clubs are selling to Man United, very expensive. On top of this, of the money being little in terms of sales, they are paying so much wages. Manchester United pays, I think, about more than 200 million pounds in wages. So you can imagine how difficult a situation they are in. So this is where Ruben Amorim finds himself at a club where he has all these great ideas to support, to help the club, but the financials cannot support his work. INEOS have got to correct the wrongs that were made by the Glazers, and they are coming up with solutions. Now, one of the solutions is increasing ticket prices. You do know that people are complaining, cutting on freebies and stuff, and making people have to pay, even staff have to pay. They are looking for every avenue to bring in a penny. Now, they are saying, how can we balance this? We need to sell academy players because any money we get from them is profit. What does that mean? The Garnachos, the Kobe Mainos are on the verge of being sold if a bidder comes in with good money. Now, the fans are out there shouting and complaining, but they forget that the reason why you are singing Glazers out is because of this mess. And the reason why INEOS came in is because there was a mess to correct. If there was never a mess in terms of running things financially, or running the football department of the club in terms of financials, if there was no mess, Manchester United would never have been in this place. Manchester United would still be in the full ownership of the Glazers. But because there was a big mess they had caused, and the fans had figured it out, and they were calling them out, they were cornered into relinquishing their ownership or their control of the football matters, because they were killing the club. Imagine if the Glazers had gone on for 5 more seasons running the football the way they were. Because if you're Man United, how in the world are you making only that amount of money in 10 years? 54 million in a year. For 10 years. It's unacceptable. How are you going to stay afloat? You're the biggest football club in the world. How are you going to do business like that? So INEOS are saying these are the wrongs they want to correct. When they balance things up again, which is going to be extremely difficult, it's going to take sacrifices, hoping that the club is not relegated. That's why Ruben Amorim keeps saying we've got to suffer, but the club needs a shock. There are so many problems behind the scenes that they are dealing with. And if they solve these problems, United can focus on the football. But before those problems are solved, there is nowhere to go. Meanwhile, the fans out there are demanding for results because they don't know the road. And that's why I did this video, for you to understand what exactly is wrong. Just that graphic alone should give you a proper idea of how badly off Man United is performing. Now, you keep saying, why isn't the PSR man or financial fair play stopping Man City or Chelsea? We are talking clubs that brought in 1.4 billion. In this January transfer window alone, Chelsea could make more than 100 million from sales of players like Nkunku, from the sales of players like Disasi, Renato Veiga, name them. They could make more than 100 million from sales of about 3 or 4 players. Can Man United make even 50 million? They are struggling to find the right buyer for one of the hottest properties United has available for sale in Garnacho. But up to now, no one is willing to go as high as 60. So do you see the mess the club is in? But sacrifices have got to be made if these wrongs are going to be corrected, or else the club will continue surviving. It will still survive, but they will not compete, because you can't bring in new players who are better. You can't bring in good players. You are in a difficult place. You're just staying afloat, fighting to win a game so that you're not relegated. You play for survival. Yet, Man United is expected to be playing to compete with Manchester City, to compete with Arsenal, to compete with Chelsea, with Liverpool, with Real Madrid, with Barcelona. But hands are tied. So guys, first take that in and properly understand that the situation Manchester United is in is so bad that any sacrifice that is made, don't say, I'm not backing INEOS no more, because the numbers are there. That's why I dug them up for you. That's the mess the biggest football club in the world is enduring. My name is Webb. This is the United of Sport. Chelsea wants Garnacho. Napoli don't want to pay the amount Man United were asking for, whereas Garnacho was open to joining them because personal terms, like I told you here, were discussed and they agreed with Garnacho, but the talks with the club, valuation is the difference. Kobe too is not untouchable. Man United needs money to survive, thanks to the Glazers. Cheers.